Well, the NFC North got infinitely more interesting after last season and this past offseason. Lots of fun storylines, lots of things to talk about. So today, we're going to go over the division, talk about each team's expectations, their key players, developments, all that, and we'll discuss which of these teams can actually be really good or which of them are going to fall flat. So let's get into it. So the first team up is the Chicago Bears, home of Caleb Williams. I'm not really sure how much really needs to be said about Caleb Williams if you've been paying attention to football. If you haven't, this guy is the best prospect, quarterback prospect, arguably since like Trevor Lawrence, and arguably even farther than that, back to Andrew Luck, depending on who you ask. So, in short, I do think he's a great prospect. Obviously, I think he's going to be a great quarterback in the NFL. I don't know exactly how high his ceiling is, but I don't really have any issues with him as a player. Like, I'm not really concerned about him being a bust, but obviously we'll see. The big thing for me is that he's in just about as good of a position a rookie quarterback can be in. He is surrounded by talent. His wide receiver one is DJ Moore, who is one of the best receivers in the league, I think. I'm not going to say how high because I know that's a whole debate, but he's definitely one of the better ones. Keenan Allen just got traded there. He's old, but obviously he still came off one of his best seasons ever last year. And they also drafted another receiver, Roma Dunze, who is apparently they're pretty close with Caleb Williams. They're doing lots of practicing together even before the draft, before Roma Dunze actually got drafted. So there's a connection there. We'll see how much that develops. But yeah, the O-line should at least be serviceable. There is first round talent on the O-line. The O-line shouldn't be abysmal. They have some good running backs in the backfield. They just got DeAndre Swift also. They still have Khalil Herbert, Roshan Johnson, and then at tight end they signed Gerald Everett. They still have Cole Kmet. So really there should be no excuses for Caleb Williams. The new play caller is kind of 50-50 depending on who you ask. Shane Waldron, former Seahawks offensive coordinator. Some people appreciate what he does. Some people don't think he's very good. There's absolutely a chance for Caleb Williams to have one of the best rookie seasons for a quarterback ever. So I'm excited to see that. And on top of all that, the defense is actually like pretty good. Like at the end of the year last year, they were actually playing pretty well, if I remember correctly. I haven't watched too many Bears games because one, they weren't very good last year, and two, I'm on the West Coast. We don't exactly watch a lot of Chicago games over here. But Jalen Johnson, like I said, I haven't gotten to watch too much of him, but I've heard he's like one of the best young corners. I believe he just signed a contract extension, so that's nice for him. And then at linebacker, they have TJ Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds, which I've heard they complement each other really well, so that's nice. So yeah, this is looking like a potentially fun, young, scrappy team. Caleb Williams really does play like one of the best rookies ever. Like, there's a chance this team sneaks into the wild card as like a 7th seed because there's talent on this team, surprisingly. At like, they're not gonna do anything crazy in the playoffs or anything like that. Like, this could just end up being a bottom 10 team like they were last year. But I do think they added enough players, and the quarterback situation is going to be so different that they should be able to stay out of that zone. My takeaway for the Bears, just setting up your rookie quarterback is extremely important. Let him cook. Let him show you what he's made of, so you don't have to ask questions over and over of, should we keep going another year with this guy? I don't know. Let's try to give him more talent. Oh, I don't know. Let's try one more season. I think they learned from Justin Fields. They're just like, you know what? If we're gonna get a new guy, just let him be as good as he can be, and then we can move from there. Next team we have the Dan Campbell led Detroit Lions. This team was a few bad series away, a few bad drives, a few bad ball bounces away from making the Super Bowl last year. I mean, I don't really know how much really needs to be said about this team. Like, obviously, they're good. Their O-line's incredible. Their skill players are incredible. And Jared Goff, he also signed an extension there, so good for him. And to me, he's in that tier of quarterbacks where you're not going to win because of him, but you can definitely win with him. And when your team, when your offense surrounding the quarterback is as good as Jared Goff's, as the Lions offense, you can absolutely win a Super Bowl with him. So I like the fit for them. Jahmyr Gibbs gets another year of development. Jameson Williams is still developing. Sam Laporte is developing. Like, awesome. And they kept Ben Johnson, who is who uses all those pieces so well. And then on the other end, they added a lot of corner talent in the draft. Yeah, their first round pick, Terrion Arnold, second round pick, Ennis Rakestraw Jr. Like, they very clearly understood that corner was their biggest issue last year. They were trying to amend that. The moves that Brad Holmes has made have been incredible. Like, he's done one hell of a job getting this team to be a contender. And really, that's the goal next season for them. Like, it's Super Bowl or nothing. Like I said, last year, if that one pass doesn't bounce off of the DB and into Ayuk's hands, if they convert either of the fourth downs, multiple of the fourth downs, I mean, they could have been in the Super Bowl. I mean, it's very possible. And I know people were shitting on Dan Campbell for his decisions to go on fourth down when he did, and when to take his points or when not to, and all that. But you got to understand, the team identity of the whole season was, we're going for it on fourth down. We think we're going to be better than you on this play, and we're going to go for it on fourth down. And that's how they got there. So I feel like if they went away from that in that moment, it wouldn't have made sense. So I don't remember who it was, but one of the players came out after and was like, hey, all the guys out there are in pain. They're hurting. They're on this painkiller or that painkiller or whatever. Like, they're just running off adrenaline. And the whole year they've been going for it. It's like, yeah, like that's what they're used to. That's what they want to do. It's not just Dan Campbell saying, all right, let's go for it. The players want to go for it too. So to me, that wasn't the issue. The going for it. It was drop passes. It was that Brandon Ayuk play. Like, that's what killed them to me. And they also had some pretty nasty turnovers. I think they had a couple fumbles. This team can 100% make the Super Bowl. We'll see what happens. Realistically, I don't see this team bottoming out, besides, God forbid, injuries, knock on wood. But yeah, this should just be one of the best teams in the league, and that's really all I have to say. My takeaway, having a team identity is a powerful thing. Dan Campbell's mentality, bite your kneecaps off, whatever. That whole thing, it very clearly is affecting this team positively. It's very clearly giving them a culture, something to believe in, and it has paid dividends. All right, next team. This is really what we've been waiting for. Green Bay Packers just signed Jordan Love to one of the most expensive deals in NFL history. I think it's 100% at least tied, but 4 years, $220 million, which is $55 million per year, tied with Trevor Lawrence and Joe Burrow for the most expensive in the league. I mean, goddamn, right? Like, that's a lot of money. When I covered the AFC West, I talked about Tua. I said Tua is not like the driving force of the team, but he's a solid piece and he does what he needs to do. Obviously, he has Tyreek Hill, he has Jalen Waddle. I'm not really sure how to say this, but I think Tua's offense is easier to execute and he has less responsibility than Jordan Love will have. So in a way, it'll be easier for this contract to look bad for the Packers. Because Jordan Love is a little bit of a wild card. I could be wrong, but I feel like Tua isn't very... I feel like he's not really a playmaker as much as Jordan Love is. I don't think that's that crazy of a take. I could have said something way worse, but like... I just think Jordan Love uses his athleticism more. All this to say, I think Jordan Love is going to have to play better to pay off this contract than Tua will. Because... there's no Tyreek Hill on the Packers. There's not really a Jalen Waddle either. Like, it's a big debate of who even is the best wide receiver on this team. Because, I don't know, there's like four options. Like, there's Christian Watson, Romeo Doubs, Dontavian Wicks, and Jaden Reed. I don't know. I don't have a great take on who's the best one. I know that a lot of film watchers that I follow on Twitter and YouTube are in love with Dontavian Wicks, so that's a name that I'm keeping in the back of my mind. But, I mean, Jordan Love is just going to have a lot to do to make this contract worth it for the Packers. And I already talked about all the receivers. They still have Luke Musgrave at tight end also Tucker Kraft. They're both young. And they added Josh Jacobs. They essentially chose Josh Jacobs over Aaron Jones. I do think Jacobs is better than Aaron Jones at this point, so I'm not mad at it. They kept A.J. Dillon, which is interesting. They also drafted Marshawn Lloyd. So They have some options in the backfield. They also drafted an O lineman. So the offense should definitely be interesting to watch. The defense has fired Joe Barry, and every Packers fan I know wanted to get rid of that guy. So maybe with him gone, the defense will be able to take a step forward. And they definitely have some ballers on defense. Jair Alexander, Rashawn Gary. That's just two of the guys. I'm excited to just watch this team. They already made the playoffs last year. They upset the Cowboys. They literally won a playoff game. Like, that's pretty incredible for for a quarterback that had like 8 good games last year. I think that if there is enough development from the young players, from Jordan Love, if we can keep getting the good games from him, then this team could be a sleeper to make a playoff run. In the highest of outcomes, they could win 1, maybe 2 playoff games, and that would be incredible. In the low range of outcomes, I could see them just being like an 8th or 9th seed in the NFC. My takeaway for this team is that player development is a real thing, which is, a little like crazy. But, sometimes maybe sitting the quarterback for a couple years is a good thing. Like, maybe that's what some quarterbacks need. It won't work for everybody. I think that this team at least shows that that is a possible avenue for some quarterbacks and for some players in general. We're spoiled by some rookie performances like CJ Stroud or like Jamar Chase or, other people like that we kind of expect that to a certain extent, when really, as long as you can get your franchise quarterback and he can play well whenever he does get on the field, then, that works. All right, and the last team, the Minnesota Vikings. They lost Kirk Cousins, obviously. They have filled the hole with Sam Darnold and J.J. McCarthy, which are clearly projects. Clearly not going for a win-now move like they are playing for the future, which makes tons of sense. I brought it up in one of the past previews, probably like a couple of them. But there's a reason some of these perceived first-round busts keep getting jobs. Like Geno Smith, who nobody really expected to play as a starter ever again. He had a wonderful resurgence in Seattle. And I know people keep giving Sam Darnold chances, but like, realistically, like, what were the other options? Like, I know Justin Fields was on the trade block, but for Kevin O'Connell's offense, Justin Fields definitely did not fit that mold. Sam Darnold fits it way more. And, if Sam Darnold's good, then it's a huge W. If he's not good, you can just bench him and then play J.J. McCarthy. You could see what he's made of, just at least see what he can do a little bit. Maybe it's near the end of the season and you're just not going to make the playoffs. And it's like, hey, let's just see what the rookie can do. Let him get a few games in, get a feel for the game. Oh, and real quick, to talk about J.J. McCarthy, I think like his ceiling outcome could probably be in like a Brock Purdy-esque tier of a player. He's not going to be the best player on your team, but I think he can definitely be a serviceable player. Common things to hear about him is that he's a winner. He's athletic, and he was playing in a pro-style offense. So he has all the intangibles, all the traits you want. He just has to get better at certain throws. And one of the things I've heard is that he's just kind of a skinny guy right now. If he puts on more weight in the weight room, get his arm strength up, then he'll be able to make more of those throws. So I think J.J. McCarthy, as a long-term play, will be good. They also added some defensive pieces for Brian Flores. They just drafted arguably the best defensive player in the draft, Dallas Turner. They added some more people in free agency just to bolster the defense a little bit, so that's exciting. And while I have said that this team isn't very good and it's not going to be a contender or anything like that, regardless of who the quarterback is, the coaching staff for this team is kind of cracked. Like, just to put it into perspective, last year, Kirk Cousins went out with injury. Josh Dobbs got hurt. Nick Mullins came in. Justin Jefferson was out for like over half the season. And still, this team finished outside of the bottom 10. Like, this team was still only the 11th overall pick. Like, this team still wasn't even that bad last year, and it went just about as bad as it could have gone. TJ Hawkinson also got hurt. Like I just trust this coaching staff to be able to work with what they have, whether that's Sam Darnold or J.J. McCarthy. There's a world where if Sam Darnold or if J.J. McCarthy just happens to be that good again, I don't know if I said again, but if they just happen to be really good at doing what they need to do a la Jared Goff, a la Tua, throwing to Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, who should learn how to drive like a normal human being. If he can just do that, if they can do enough, this team can make the playoffs. I obviously would not put them above any of the contenders. It would take an insane performance from everybody, coaches included, and that's a lot to overcome. But I think that this team could sneak into the playoffs with some luck, and of course with quarterback play that far exceeds everyone's expectations. So, not realistic, but like I said, in like the worst case scenario last year, with everyone, all the important people getting hurt, they only finished as the 11th worst team. Like, it's kind of crazy. The more realistic outcome, this is just a bottom 10 team. This team's playing for the future. No expectations this year. It is what it is. Also, they added Aaron Jones from the Packers, so that's really funny. That'll be interesting. Maybe we get some revenge games. Maybe the run game gets boosted, going from Madison to Aaron Jones. Maybe that'll help their struggling or quote-unquote bad or unready, unprepared quarterbacks. So I don't know. We'll see. I think this will definitely be an interesting team. This could be a team that people are underrating a lot because of the quarterback play. And if Kevin O'Connell can just make their lives a little easier, then we might be cooking with something. And the 2 Vikings fans I know can be excited for the season. But yeah, that's going to do it for the NFC North divisional preview. If I talked about your favorite team here, leave a comment. Let me know what your expectations are for the season, which players in the division you're looking out for. Go check out the other team previews I've done. I'm going to do all the divisions. I believe this is the halfway point, so we're almost done. But that is going to do it for today. Leave a like, hit comment, hit subscribe for more content, because I do have some more stuff planned, so stick around for that. I hope you'll be seeing more of me soon. Thank you so much for watching, and I will talk to y'all later. Peace out.